So we've been hearing about this Incognito and Jonathan Martin situation for a while, and I think a major problem with Richie Incognito being considered an honorary black man, quote unquote, was that just black people give white people too much power as far as being able to use racial slurs and things like that, as long as we don't feel like they're using them in a negative way or a derogatory way. And I think that with Jonathan Martin, his teammates didn't consider him black because he was from Stanford. He was from an affluent family, and they felt like he was a sellout to the black community because in America, black masculinity is about being sagging and wearing a lot of jewelry and having nice cars and club hopping and all this kind of stuff. And so when they see a black man who's not from that kind of background, who doesn't portray those negative stereotypes, then they're a sellout. And that's the same thing with people when they talk about them talking proper. When a black person talks proper, then they're considered acting white. When in reality, they're just being educated, and there's no difference between a white education and a black education. I do think that fans are seeing this as a race issue because it is a race issue. Um, Richie Incognito should not have been given the power to just parade around the locker rooms and wherever else he was saying the N word and being comfortable with that, and his black teammates being comfortable with that, especially when they're casting out their own, the person of their own race. It's never okay for a white person to go around and use the N word, whether they're trying to be derogatory or not, because the history of the N word is, back in slavery when it derived from blacks, dirty, dumb, uneducated, all those negative things. So for black people in the locker room at in Miami, they shouldn't be okay with Richie Incognito using that word ever, because while he's calling that bullying Jonathan Martin, he's also talking down on them, and they don't even realize it because they're too ignorant, because they're so worried about casting out a member of their own race instead of at least at the bare minimum building up everybody on their team, regardless of what color they are. So I think the Richie Incognito thing, it's not something that's new. It's probably not something that's going away. Many people allow this to happen. Many people are okay with it, and it continues to happen. And so, until black people stand up and defend themselves, and stop casting out those black people who are educated, who want to be educated, and who want to carry themselves in a positive light, and dress nice, and wear a suit, get an education, and not portray negative stereotypes, then there will always be a problem in the black community. Black athletes are just they're expected, and when we at the University of Oklahoma, when we see black athletes, we just automatically assume that they're here only because of their athletic abilities. They're only here because they're good at sports. They're good at basketball. They're good at football. We very seldom ask a black person, do you play tennis? Do you play soccer? Do you play lacrosse? Do you play hockey? Are you a gymnast? None of that. We automatically assume that they're either a basketball player, a football player, and they're a track star. And that's because of, in the black community, we've embraced those stereotypes. We've embraced that black people can only be good at sports. We can't be smart. We can't be intelligent. We have to be submissive to the right race, and that's just not how it should be.